Welcome to another episode of Titan PI TV, where we're looking at the inside workings of a live operational investigation agency, that being here, Titan, this week in London. I'm your host and Managing Director of Titan Private Investigation, Simon Henson. Welcome. If this is the first time that you've listened to us and you enjoy what you've listened to and you would like to see more, then please give us a thumbs up or subscribe. If you prefer not to look at YouTube videos and you prefer to listen to podcasts while you're driving or out and about, then you can download Titan PI TV podcast wherever you download your podcasts. So, following on from the last two episodes, which were part one and part two of Day in the Life of me as a private investigator and a managing director of a company, I am currently deployed. So if you were to ring the office, you would speak to Jade, who deals with all incoming calls and all the admin reports, etc., whilst I am able to be away. I am away in the London area. Can't say a lot because I've signed an NDA and it's a live job, but I am running two teams who are performing counter surveillance. Enough about that though. So today I want to discuss communication. So how, as private investigators, do we communicate? So by far the most important and probably most common way of actually communicating with one another, however big the team is through radios. That is the more professional way. And there's a number of types of radios. So it might be that we use a radio like this, which would be a UHF or VHF radio. This is a UHF one, and these work back to back. So they have a limited range. So this radio might be able to do a couple or 3 kilometers on a motorway, an open space. But in a built up area, that would massively reduce due to buildings, etc., certainly in the London area. So that would be an example of a UHF radio. However, more and more common these days are the network radios. So this is the Enrico T529 Alpha. So this is effectively an Android phone, and this works off the 4 and 5G network. So effectively, depending what SIM you've got, you could have this in the UK and be listening to a surveillance wherever that might be in the world. However, realistically, it would be in the UK, most likely England. So for example, Jade could have this at the Derby office and she could be listening to the two teams down here and doing a formal log. So that is one advantage of a network radio. The log doesn't have to be done by someone on the surveillance. It can be done by someone in the operations room up at Derby, which is our main office. So for these radios, there are changeable parts. So there's the same with the UHF, but I'll use this one as an example. So you've got an aerial, which can be taken off. You've got on this one a belt holder, which can be removed. You've got various buttons, which I'll come on to in a minute. And you've also got this part here, which you can plug ancillaries into, whether that be covert wires so that you're able to give commentary whilst out on foot, or it might be a fist mic or a shoulder mic, whatever you want to call it, which is a microphone which comes off as an extension so that you can give commentary whilst you're doing mobile surveillance. There are different frequencies, so I will turn this one and the other one on now. They take about 60 seconds to boot up, so I'll let them boot up and you'll hear them doing various bits and bobs as they're booting up so that we know they are working. So they have different frequencies. So with the UHF, there are a number of frequencies on this. These ones are encrypted, so they're licensable. And they usually have roughly about 4 channels which are programmed. So these are the two network radios. We'll ignore them for the moment, just booting up. One thing you do need to be aware of if you're not on a licensable channel and you're just using a UHF radio, it's potentially, if you're in a city centre, which has store detectors in shops, they might be able to listen to your channels. So avoid using channels 1 and 2, for example, because they are likely to be used by store detectors, for example. So if you can, license it and have a licensable channel which is encrypted so that no one can listen to your communications. So on these, we've got 4, on the network radios, we've got 4 programmed channels. You can have as many as you want, certainly up to 16 on these, but we've just got 4, and that enables us to, for example, have 4 teams out at one time, or if we're delivering our training, you might be able to, in the foot phase, have 4 different groups with different instructors which aren't sharing radio traffic. So the basic controls, you've got the volume and on-off here. You've got your channel here. And then you've got your press to talk, which is, or a PTT, which allows you to speak. So if you press that, you wait a second, Simon comms check, and that would come out on the other radio. You also have a transmission button, which I've just covered. Carriage, so we've got the belt buckle here, so you can either carry that on a belt, so you would usually stick it in the small of your back, but you'd put it so that the clip is on the outside of your trousers and the main bulk of the radio is on the inside. Other ways are you can get vests, which you put under your clothes and it just clips in. There's leg harnesses, whether that be a thigh harness or a calf harness. So you can carry them pretty much wherever you want, but wherever you do carry them, you don't want a big lump. You don't want them to be seen because they aren't particularly thin, unlike the UHF, which is even thicker. So carriage is really important. Battery life. So battery life is dependent on how much traffic there is. It's not on how long you have it on for, because stand down time or standby time on these is quite high because it's a telephone. But as you know, if you use your telephone loads, then the battery life starts to go down quite quickly, and it's the same with a radio. But you would generally get 6 to 8 hours out of one of these, so they're going to last a deployment. Then we have a number of ancillaries with them. So, for example, if we were to go out on foot, we may use wired ancillaries. So the wired ancillaries allow you to speak and talk covertly, so that would click into there and you wait for a solid click, and then you've got a number of wires coming off it, 3 in fact. So you've got one which is a 1/4 inch jack, which is what in our case we put some headphones into so we can hear the communications. We have a microphone which would go somewhere on the inside of our clothing, as close as we can without being seen, so that it's not muffled, so it's not under clothing. And then we have a PTT, a press to talk, and that would work down from the radio and into your pocket. So that allows you to talk, and you can either put your hand in your pocket and press that to talk, or you could put your hand on the outside of your trousers, for example, and not have to put your hand in your pocket and just depress it. So those are the ancillaries, and that allows us to be able to communicate whilst we are walking and talking.